Today's all about easy Copic colouring in real time. Hi, it's Therese from Lostinpaper and I'm back to colour with you, and today is all about some easy Copic colouring, and I've got some tips and techniques to share along the way. Starting with my first mistake, I've picked up the wrong colour here, and I thought I had the E00 and I actually came in with the R20, so now she looks like she's got slap cheek. But that's okay, I'm not going to start again because I can use my colours to blend it out. What I've done here is come back in with my E000 and added colour over the whole of the red cheeks. I like to work from the edges of the image and leave like a lighter portion in the centre of the face, just to look like a bit of lights coming off the face. And now I step away. I've actually started working on a different section because that will just give time for the markers on the face area to dry, and generally speaking they're going to lighten up, so it's not going to look as bad as it initially did. I'm working on the hair of the image, and I do actually add the highlights of the hair first. Generally speaking, I like to add my shading first, except when it comes to hair. Because I get a little bit heavy-handed with my Copic markers, I just find it keeps me a bit better in check. With hair, I do often sort of just use some flicking motions and keep the pen or the marker really lightly on the paper, and that seems to add some good highlights for me. I only add a touch of the dark, generally speaking, the roots of the hair, behind the nape of the neck and at the ends of the hair, and then come back in with my middle colour and blend it out. Sometimes I'll come back in with my darker colour again just to add a bit more depth, because like I said, as the colours dry within the paper they do lighten a little, and that just helps add some more depth to the image. So I'm back on the face now. It's had a bit of time to dry, and I've come in with that E11, which is a darker skin tone, and added some shading. And you'll notice that that slap cheek has resolved. She's not sick anymore. I thought it'd be fun to have some fun bright colours on her clothes. So the RV02 and RV04, they're the two colours that I have, and they don't play particularly well together. And I'm going to have to work out if someone knows of a good combo with these two to sort of mute them down. I recently bought a new Copic colour. I don't buy many Copic colours at all. I don't think I need them all, and I'd rather buy refills than colours and just use the colours that I've got. But if I am missing a colour and find that I'm not using the colours that I've got because of that missing colour, I will actually go out and buy it. And when I say I buy my refills, I tend to only buy the refills for the really light colours, because I find that they're the ones I use the most of. And what I notice here is I think my RV02 actually needs refilling, and I was using the tip to tip technique to add some shading, and that does help if you are missing a colour in your blending. Oh, and I forgot to tell you what colour I bought. It was the RV34. Pretty sure that's the colour. So I'm actually thinking, now that I'm watching this, that maybe I could have actually brought that colour in, and that would have, it's a deeper pink, so I think that would have been really nice actually in retrospect. Anyway, I'll come back to it a bit later on, I'm thinking. She has orange pants. I couldn't help myself, and I am blending it out with a darker sort of orange colour. And when I blend out my Copic markers, I don't tend to overblend them. I think it's if you're not really confident with your colouring, keep it more simple. So use your second colour to add some shading. So you don't have to have the 3 colors and shade it out. Keep it a little bit more cartoony if you want, and see the shading and let it be what it is, and just enjoy it until you get that confidence. Or if you, it's just a different, and it gives a different look to an image. And I quite like the finished look when it's not totally blended out 100%, but other times I do. The chair itself, I really like to use the BG72 with the BG11, and there's a massive gap between these colors. So this is actually going to look very cartoony. So I'm using the darker color to add some depth to the chair, and to do that I've left white edges. So I'm adding all the shading sort of portions first, and then what I'll do is come in with the 11 and just add a wash of color over the whole thing. Now that is going to help the darker color blend. You're not going to lose it altogether. If you wanted to, you could actually go a step further and actually blend it all and make it all perfect. I wanted to keep this very simple today because I wanted to keep it in real time as well, and I thought that it'd be a good way to share that it doesn't have to be perfectly blended. You can keep it really simple. If you're not confident in your colouring, this is a really good option, and it gives you that fun sort of look to an image. And to be honest, the chair's not the main feature here in the image. It's more the girl sitting on the chair, which I'm not happy with yet. But that's why I find I actually step away from what I'm doing, and then I'll come back. So while I'm colouring the chair, I'm thinking about what I'm going to be doing with her. And speaking of her, this, I haven't told you what stamp set I'm using yet, have I? It's a set from a company called Uniquely Creative, which is an Australian stamp company. Well, they're actually a kit company, but they also sell stamps and dies and kits as well. And they have some really cute designs. And the set's actually called Read Past Your Bedtime. So it has a few book images, stacks of books, a couple of little cutesy, kind of like dinosaur images. I'm not sure why they're in the set, but they are really sweet. Maybe because it's magical. And so I did actually stamp one of the book images off to the side. The grounding that I'm doing here, I sort of created like a floor behind her, and I just eyeballed a line with using my Copic marker that actually is the same as the edge of the panel that I'm working on. So I'm just working on a piece of cardstock here that's the same, cut the same as the front of a card, because the Copics are going to show through a lot on the other side, and I do prefer to colour on the 80-pound Nina than on the 110-pound. That way when I adhere it to the front of my card, you're not going to be able to see the Copic colours through there. And I kept the ground a bit wishy-washy too. I wanted it to be a bit not perfectly blended either. So what I did was just lightly move the markers back and forth over the ground. This is one of my favourite tricks to do. If you don't have all the different colour markers, add your shading with one of the greys, and I particularly like using the T2, the Toner 2. And my problem is I get a bit, go a bit overboard and add too much shading. So sometimes it's good just to step back and have a look and think rather than keep on adding. And I did add a bit too much shading to the white book that she's reading, so I'll come back in with my colourless blender just to lighten that off a little bit. And the blending that I added to her shirt, the toner that I added to her shirt, I didn't like it either. It just wasn't sitting right with me, so I actually just came in with the RV04 and covered over the whole shirt and made it a really bright neon pink, and I preferred that so much better. On the skin tones, I like to add a bit of shadow using a BV20, and I will list all these markers that I've used today over at my blog, so if you did miss those colours on the side, they will be there. Now it's just a matter of adding the sentiment. I did a bit of a two-tone here using, it's an Essentials by Alan set called Totally Random Sayings. It's the volume 2 set, and I two-toned a sentiment with some Catherine Pooler inks, the Party Dress and the Orange Twist. And this is really easy to do with the Misty, and I simply just stamped that over top just to give it that ombre almost effect, and added the Sweetest stamped out with some obsidian black ink, and then attached it to the front of a top fold card. So if you like this video, please like it, and if you haven't already, I'd love it if you'd subscribe to my YouTube channel. I always read every comment and appreciate every visit that you make here. Till next time, happy paper crafting. Bye.